If there's one thing that me and the viewer, whoever you may be, wherever you may be watching me, if there's one thing that you and I can agree on, it's that AEW has come under a lot of criticism and has been under a lot of criticism since the very early stages of the company, since day one, in fact, of AEW's existence. They've come under a lot of criticism. They've been under a lot of scrutiny, come under a lot of fire. Some of it justifiably so. Some of it absolutely warranted. They are producing the worst television in company history in 2025. They are a creative mess unlike any other year in 2025. You and I are allowed to have an opinion about anything in this world, but we cannot have an opinion about AEW. That's what AEW thinks. We can have an opinion about anything else, but you can't speak ill will, you can't speak badly, you can't speak negatively about AEW. You are not allowed to speak about AEW in a negative way. Otherwise, you're canceled. Otherwise, you're a grifter. Otherwise, you get pulled from prominent positions and you're just a villain. You are the bad guy. You are the cancer of the community. We're not allowed to have an opinion about AEW. What if you're Gail Kim? What if you are a legend in the business? Gail Kim, who doesn't work for any other pro wrestling company. She doesn't work for WWE. She doesn't work for New Japan. She doesn't work for MLW. She doesn't work for GCW. She doesn't work for any pro wrestling promotion at all. She sits at home. She doesn't have to work. She got fired from TNA, from Carlos Silva. She's not being hired by the WWE. She's not lobbying for a job at the WWE. She was fired in the middle of a partnership with TNA and WWE by the guy who runs TNA, Carlos Silva. Even Gail Kim is not allowed to have an opinion on AEW. What am I getting at? There was a heated argument on social media, of course, on Twitter, between Gail Kim, the AEW sickos, that involved AEW Executive Vice President Kenny Omega publicly coming out to blast Gail Kim on her thoughts on Riho. I don't know why you're an EVP in All Elite Wrestling and you can't handle this like a professional. Kenny Omega just basically showed you exactly what the problem is in AEW and how they want to handle things in AEW. And it all comes from the very top because someone like Kenny Omega is told to do that on social media. Someone at the top is telling Kenny Omega he's allowed to speak that way to anybody he wants who speaks negatively about AEW. Now you know the reason why people always shit on AEW. We'll go over what happened, what she said about Riho, and what Kenny Omega said about Gail Kim, and why I stand with Gail Kim. Today on Off the Script, it is your Thursday, September 26th, 2025. Tribalism. Tribalism has run wild on social media between the WWE fan bases and the AEW fan bases. It's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. I deal with it every single day. The messages I see, the messages I gotta hide, the messages I gotta delete. It is tiresome. It really is tiresome. And all I want is a better show creatively. That's all I want. And I'm the villain. Jesse's the villain. Anybody that speaks ill will of AEW are vilified. Apparently, there was an exchange between Gail Kim and Brett Lauderdale, the owner of GCW. Now, this discussion led to someone asking Gail Kim for her thoughts on Jim Cornette's commentary about female Asian wrestlers. Kim asked for examples and was then sent a playlist of Cornette's comments about Riho. Riho wrestles for AEW. She just returns nonsensically to AEW to basically be propped up to lose to Mercedes at All Out because they had nobody else for Mercedes to beat, and she was the next name on the list. She indicates that she listened to at least one of the clips from Cornette's show, from the playlist, and she said this in regards to what she heard. The only issue I had was that he made a comment about Riho's teeth. I will say, I haven't watched AEW in a very long time, but when I did watch Riho, and nothing against Riho at all, because I'm the biggest supporter of all women who want to make it in this business, but I did feel uncomfortable watching her because the camera shots would go up to her, up her skirt, and she was always dressed like a little girl, and it felt improper. I am also into very believable wrestling. Not everyone is, especially nowadays. And it was very hard for me to believe a little girl that was being portrayed of that size was fighting women that they had in that division. To put it into context, I find Io, Mia Yim, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Lei Ying, who I believe is in TNA, who was the former Xia Li, to be more believable, and I don't feel uncomfortable watching them. Where did Gail Kim say anything out of line? Why did Gail Kim come under fire for what we just seen and read here? Does anybody want to explain that to me? Or is the pro wrestling fan base, or better yet, the AEW fan base, completely fucking mental more than anybody truly realizes? I don't really understand what Gail Kim said that was so derogatory. Do I want to watch somebody that looks like a little schoolgirl, that looks like somebody that's dressed to go to fucking third grade, wrestling on my TV screen? I said, not that, but I said basically along the lines of when I reviewed Mercedes versus Riho at All Out, I don't believe Mercedes needed to sell for Riho when Mercedes has been in there with Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, Tony Storm. She went 20 minutes with Riho at All Out. To me, that is not believable. It's not. I don't give a shit who you are or what you like. It is not believable. There is only a very, very rare situation and a very rare occurrence where you put someone like Riho in a match with somebody much larger and more threatening than her. You tell a story, the David versus Goliath story. It's been told since the beginning of time, and if told properly, it is a great story to tell. But when you have Riho out there telling the David and Goliath story every single fucking time, dressed the way that she is, you don't expect people to scrutinize and pick apart Riho and the way that she wrestles and the way that she dresses and the way that she looks and the size of Riho. Can you honestly fault Gail Kim for feeling that way? She likes and appreciates a more believable pro wrestling product. I agree with that 100%. 100%. Because it's a position to be on the internet, give an opinion, and then get scrutinized. Because obviously Gail gave her opinion on AEW, and you can't do that. Gail drew more responses because her in-ring career and time working behind the scenes at TNA make her a prominent figure in the industry. One common response to the question of why Kim didn't have believability issues during her own feuds with Awesome Kong, or when she helped book Tessa Blanchard as Impact World Heavyweight Champion. Now that I agree with. I don't agree with the women holding the men's championship, especially with Sami Callihan. There's no fucking person alive and breathing that thinks someone like Tessa Blanchard, who's 5'3", is going to beat Sami Callihan in an actual fight, an actual wrestling match for the World Heavyweight Championship. I found that to be ridiculous, and I knew why TNA did it. Obviously, they did it to grab a headline and get people talking because nobody was doing that type of thing. They did it to spark fake outrage and a talking point. That's why they did it. I don't like that at all. I don't even like intergender wrestling, to be quite honest with you. I don't. And I don't even know of a situation where something like that works and that is believable. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. Now, she was asked these questions and she responded, there are times when there are tiny wrestlers who don't look believable against bigger wrestlers at times. That's just the nature of our business. So get over it. She was also called out for bringing up 28-year-old Riho's youthful looks and schoolgirlish presentation, to which Gail replied that it was simply based on a few shows and just her mere opinion. She also praised several AEW women. She says, and I quote, I watched her years ago, and that's what I commented on. I love Toni Storm. I think she's doing the best work of her career. I like Chris Statlander. But I do want to watch more. I have a bias with former TNA Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo. I wish AEW would do more with her too. End quote. But the fact she didn't condemn Cornette, which apparently we got to just condemn Jim Cornette because everything Jim Cornette and Brian Last says is wrong. She didn't condemn Jim Cornette, criticized Riho, who was the first AEW Women's World Champion in company history, and listed only WWE and TNA Asian women wrestlers as positive examples. All of this was a combination that was clearly just mental breakdown for AEW sickos online. It led to predictable assumptions. It led to bad faith arguments and insults being aimed at Gail Kim. Then Kenny Omega gets involved, and he subtweeted this. Another day and another legend doing the splits on it for the yearly TKO gift baskets. End quote. And you want to know where the tribalism comes from and why everybody is so upset that there's tribalism that exists in the pro wrestling community. How many WWE talents do you see tweeting in regards to something like this on social media publicly? I'll wait. The answer is zero. The answer is zero. Nobody in WWE would have ever engaged in this type of argument on social media. It would have been conducted and squashed in the DMs, in a text, on a phone call, behind closed doors, over a cup of coffee, when both companies are in the same town. That's the difference between WWE and AEW. Why are you, an EVP, an executive vice president of the company, going out there and eliciting the tribalism and adding to the tribalism that already exists so wildly and rampantly on social media? Why are you adding to that horrible, horrible behavior? As an EVP, I don't understand. And this is why people want AEW to fail. This is why people have stopped caring about AEW. This is why people have stopped watching AEW. It's because the way that they act like children. The Young Bucks danced around and jogged around and fucking celebrated when CM Punk got fired. They just threw half their fan base out the fucking window when that screenshot and that video went viral on social media. Half of a fan base gone in the blink of an eye because you feel like you won something that basically was the fucking detriment that it will forever be to AEW ever rebounding. Now, Kenny Omega wants to go out there and be an EVP, right? some professional and spark more tribalism on top of the wild tribalism that already exists. If AEW was a professional company, Kenny Omega would have said nothing. He would have reached into Gail Kim's DMs, which I'm assuming are open to anybody she wants to have a fucking conversation with at this level. Speak to her in the DMs, speak to her via a phone call or a text, and squash this like a fucking professional. AEW is a company that is run by children, and it starts at the fucking top. When you got a 43-year-old leader in Tony Khan who acts like a fucking 17-year-old on Reddit, giving his opinion on pro wrestling and sparking tribalism at a young age, he's taken that now into his adult life. And now he's bled that on to all of his roster. He even gave Ricochet a gimmick online, and people think he's playing heel online. He's playing heel online because Tony Khan allows him to play a heel, and people think it's getting him over on television. Nobody gives a single fuck when Ricochet gets on television or has anything to do on air on Dynamite. This is the company that you openly and willingly support. Children. EVPs. This guy has the title of Executive Vice President. I'd love for a fucking Executive Vice President on the TKO side to come out and say something as stupid as this and spark tribalism. You want to know what they're doing? They're too busy counting the fucking dollars that they got coming in by the billions to be worried about fucking Riho dressing like a fucking 3-year-old on AEW Dynamite. Riho is no longer on X. She was not engaged in any of this because she's been bullied off the platform. I don't blame her. Another element of this fucking mess is that the bullying side of things, it's not going to get any better, and they spark bullying now. Now whatever Riho is getting, now whatever AEW feels they're getting, Kenny spawned that off to Gail Kim. It's all right if Gail Kim gets bullied, but it's not all right if AEW gets bullied. It's all right if Gail Kim gets criticized, but it's not all right if AEW gets criticized. Do you see how this works here? Do you see how this works here? AEW can do nothing wrong, ever. Everything's great. Everything's great. Now, Kenny Omega, he's clearly friends with Riho. He's had ties to most Joshi wrestlers who've come on into AEW from his time in Japan, his connections in Japan. He's also got major problems, as do most of the people there, with Jim Cornette, who's been accused of encouraging the hate and ridicule to people like Riho and Maki Ito and Hikaru Shida and Okada and Takeshita. If you listen to Cornette's show, you know what he says about these people and how he pronounces their name and what he thinks of them. If you don't have a sense of humor, you're not going to laugh. And you're going to take everything to heart, and you're going to take everything as if it's fucking Jim Cornette speaking to you personally. As if Jim Cornette is fucking blasting your family in front of the millions of listeners he's got every fucking month. I laugh at it. I find it to be entertaining. I find it to be funny. We are in the entertainment business. If you're not taking fucking critiques from Jim Cornette, if you're not taking fucking anything from Jim Cornette at this stage of the game, you're not playing the game the right way. Go listen to anything he has to say about the show and tell me where he's fucking wrong. Gail Kim, she went on to say that she's married to Robert Irvine. She posted a picture of her and Robert Irvine. I love Robert Irvine. I think he's fucking fantastic. I loved his reality shows on the Food Network. I think he's entertaining. I think he's great. She doesn't need the money. She tried to make that point, that she doesn't need pro wrestling. She said to Kenny Omega in rebuttal to his tweets, if you're trying to beat around the bush and misinterpret things like the rest of these yahoos, let me clarify that you are wrong. And if you're not talking about me, then I'll apologize with all the tribalistic crazies out yesterday misinterpreting things. I was, yes, assuming so. She posted a picture of her and Robert Irvine because Kenny Omega says that she was doing the splits on it for another TKO gift basket. Gail Kim is not even associated with WWE. She was fired by Carlos Silva, who's running TNA, who's in a partnership with WWE. If WWE wanted Gail Kim, they would have hired Gail Kim. They haven't. Who's to say they don't? They'd be stupid not to. But right now, she's not looking for a job. So I don't understand where he gets off thinking that she's doing anything on it for a TKO gift basket. She's not associated with any pro wrestling promotion. She's allowed to have the opinion that she has because she's her own woman. She's her own human being. I don't understand it. She's not sparking tribalism. She doesn't work for anybody. She's just giving her opinion on pro wrestling because she's been in the business for 2 decades. We've gotten to a point where legends can't even give their opinions on pro wrestling without AEW getting fucking personal. It's unbelievable to me. And it is fucking weird that there are grown men out there who don't mind that the cameramen are looking up Riho's fucking skirt and that she's dressed as a fucking 50-year-old 5th grader. She's dressed as a 5th grader out there. She's dressed as a little schoolgirl. In a day and age where pedophilia and fucking rape and sodomy and all these fucking horror stories of fucking children being kidnapped, there are grown men who look at this type of fucking character and content and you think these people are fucking normal? They sexualize these people. They sexualize these women. This is what they fantasize about. You don't find that to be weird? A grown man fantasizing about a 30-year-old woman dressed as a fucking 5th grader wearing a schoolgirl outfit. Do you remember what WWE did with Saray? Do you remember? Bruce Pritchard, this was in the Vince, Bruce, Johnny Laurinaitis version of NXT. They took this woman from Japan in black and gold, fired her, rehired her back, and turned her into a fucking Asian schoolgirl who fucking wore a pendant, who all of a sudden turned into some fucking superhero. Bro, they turned her into a schoolgirl turned Power Ranger. This is what grown adult men think of that demographic. That's what grown men here think of when they think of Asian wrestlers. So it's not Gail Kim. It's just not Gail Kim who doesn't like it. There's a lot of people that don't like it because it's fucking weird. So I don't understand why Gail Kim can't give her opinion on it. There are just some people who are not going to enjoy Riho's look because they think it's fucking weird. They think it's weird. Nobody wants to watch AEW with the camera guy looking up fucking Riho's skirt and fantasizing about Riho dressed as a 5th grader, little schoolgirl. Some people are okay to think that's weird. Some people are also okay, in their opinion, to think that Riho is way too tiny. She's soaking wet 80 pounds. Who is she going to beat in a real fucking fight? Is it all right that if me and Gail Kim and several other people enjoy believable pro wrestling? Is that allowed? Because I love believable pro wrestling. I want to watch 2 believable entities do battle. There is only a very rare instance where someone like Riho, and the size of Riho, should be in a ring with somebody like a Nia Jax or a fucking Awesome Kong, like was mentioned in this story. There's only a very rare instance that you could tell that story and make it something substantial. Are you guys going to cancel me now because I'm not interested in watching Riho dressed as a 30-year-old fucking, or a 30-year-old woman dressed as a fucking little schoolgirl going to 5th grade? Are you going to criticize me because I don't like it? I don't. Neither does Jesse. We talked about it a little bit last night. It's weird. It's all right to think it's weird. There's a lot of things I think are weird. It's all right to think things are weird. You're not fucking doing anything wrong. So I don't understand why everyone needs to fucking blow a gasket when Gail Kim just gave her fucking opinion. She's an Asian woman who doesn't like the Asian representation that Riho presents on AEW television. And I just mentioned to you Saray and what Vince and Bruce did to her and turned her into an Asian schoolgirl. Does anybody have a problem with that? Because I thought that was fucking weird too. I thought that was disgusting and childish. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody's interested in that. Nobody. Not only do they come here to escape the stereotypes, all you do is have them come over here and give them the stereotypes that we here have about them over there. How fucked up is that? I don't know, man. The community is shot. The community is shot. You can't say anything anymore, and everything is a fucking problem. Legitimately, everything is a problem. I genuinely hate being in this community, and I only use social media because it props up what I do on the channel. If I didn't have the fucking channel, you wouldn't even know me. It wouldn't even be worth my time. Let me know how you guys feel about this. I stand with Gail Kim. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't say anything wrong whatsoever. And Kenny Omega and everybody in AEW that holds an EVP status or someone in power in AEW. It's the reason why they get shit on, man, because they act like fucking children and it all starts at the fucking top. If you're someone who has the title of EVP, you should be a little bit more professional in your fucking reply and not take things publicly to fucking spread hate and toxicity and tribalism that you feel is being done to you. No, but it's all right if you do it to them. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know how you feel. And I'll see you guys right back here with more Off the Script. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. And please go out there and check the rest of the content on the channel. There's plenty of content to go around. Great stuff over there. All the live streams and the extras thrown in between. Thank you guys very much. Hit that thumbs up. Leave me a comment. And I'll see you live for TNT tonight on Thursday Night Titans. Yes, we're not Thursday Night Titans, we're Tuesday Night Titans, but it's a redo because we missed Tuesday and we'll be live tonight on TNT. I'll see you guys later.